So far, we've talked about transportation, what intelligent vehicles are, and some of the benefits to why we want to look at um, connected and autonomous vehicles and the advancements they will provide to our society and what this ecosystem is doing. One of the things I want to look at now, and if you go to slide 17, are some of the market dynamics that also influence the move in this direction. So the average American commuter now spends 250 hours a year behind the wheel of a vehicle, which creates a lot of congestion, wasted gas, and some cities become massive parking lots. Hours behind the wheel equates to lost productivity, lost time pursuing other interests, and lost serenity. How many people drive and get so frustrated and stressed out? If we could do away with that, make it a easy flow or shared commute times, that it would just reduce that stress level in our life. As those commuters inch along during rush hour traffic, they drive in circles around city streets looking for parking spaces, and according to a report published by the MIT Media Lab, in congested urban areas, about 40% of total gasoline use is in the cars looking for that parking spot. So the number of vehicles is ever increasing with number of people commuting to work and driving alone. So by 2050, personal mile travels will increase by 500 billion annually. Factor in population growth, it goes to 1 trillion. Translates to 3 to 4 trillion additional vehicle miles. The impact on our infrastructure is tremendous. We spend billions on new roads, light rail, and infrastructure, or make a smaller investment in communication technology to allow more vehicles to operate more intelligently. So again, some of the motivation behind, if we continue on the path that we're going without pursuing and moving towards autonomous vehicles, our infrastructure cannot sustain. And we will, again, continue to, as our population grows, put more and more stress on the infrastructure. However, we do need to acknowledge the barriers that come into play when we're talking about moving to autonomous vehicles. So let's talk about some of them. Trust, acceptable social proofs that might assist in shifting people's behavior in favor of adopting driverless vehicles. We need to find and build that trust. What's going to motivate them to embrace this? If people just push back, and no matter what we do, no matter how safe, how much better it makes our roads, how much it improves our environment, if people don't trust the technology, we won't be able to move in that direction. Another barrier is the data protection. This falls under the Federal Trade Commission, and they're actively involved in looking at the impact of all the data that is being collected and how it will be used. Another piece of this is cybersecurity. With this day and age, the attacks that go on, people have seen demonstrations where somebody's hacked into some of these autonomous vehicles and taken over the functions within the vehicle. That is something that needs to be addressed. So government's involvement helps to assure sharing and advancement across the industry will help to improve safety as well as security of our systems. They need to continue to develop regulations and update them frequently due to the rapid changes that are happening. So in other words, the government can get involved. It can create that environment where the industry shares lessons learned, new technologies with each other. Instead of competing and keeping that all private, if we've solved the problem, we've come up with better solutions, let's share it. Let's make this an industry that is open and better for everyone. In any major technology advance, there is a shift in the job industry. Not many, if any, research studies have been done on the impact to the driving industry. It is a case of disruptive technology versus society. Do we not move forward just because we have displacement of certain industries that will lose jobs? If we did that, we would not be where we are today in our world. Over time, we've had lots of cases. If we look back at the banking industry, when they talked about introducing ATMs, there was all this concern over what would happen to the bank tellers. Are we going to lose a whole job industry in the banking that was going to impact many, many people? But instead, what happened was it actually created more jobs. The majority of Bank tellers could shift to additional things that the ATM introduced into the banking industry, so that it's a shift that you need to embrace, or that we need to look at. So yes, there may be others that taxi cab drivers, commercial truck drivers. What's the impact going to be to them? But we also need to look at the trend over time has been that usually when one industry is impacted, it creates shifts and increased jobs in other areas. For instance, with the platooning of commercial trucks, which means one truck at the front is the lead, and it's really the only one that needs a driver, and multiple autonomous vehicles can follow behind that. So, okay, so we're going to be out of drivers. However,